Let's talk anime. Hello and welcome to Brandon's Discuss Anime, the Reckless Amoeba podcast. I am your host, Brandon Horvath, and with me are my co-hosts, Brandon Falinger.
Yes, I'm here. I'm submerged in LCL fluid. It smells quite like blood.
And Ryan Stokiel.
I'm about to board Mecha Jesus.
Yes. Dropping the thing a bit early, today is Evangelion Part 2. So, lots of stuff to talk about, but before we do that, speaking about sequels, hey Brandon, did you hear your favorite Netflix movie of all time is getting a sequel?
Oh, you're making Death Note 2?
Yes.
I mean,
wow, that was a good guess. And a sarcastic one.
I'm not... I don't hate it is the problem, right? I don't hate Netflix Death Note.
It's just very, very flawed, from what I understand.
From someone who never watched the anime, I enjoyed it.
That's the thing, right? It's flawed from the perspective of you've completely flipped over what the original series was. The characters are not the characters anymore, like to the point of being almost parody.
Okay.
And that's the biggest problem I think that it has. I don't think it's a problem, like you said, Orion, from a person who's never seen the series before. Just watching it isn't bad. It's the fact that if you've seen the series, it's terrible. It's a terrible adaptation.
So if you want to enjoy Death Note, just forget everything you know about Death Note.
Just try to forget it. Try to ignore. Honestly, I would have preferred if they had just not called it Death Note. Like, had they not called it Death Note, renamed all the characters, I probably wouldn't have cared. It would have been fine. It's the fact that it's associated with Death Note at all is the problem.
Although, from the clips I've seen of L, I kind of like the guy getting down L's mannerisms. Like, squatting
he's probably
in the chair.
the best part. He's probably the best part. And I'm pretty sure I said that in the rant view.
Okay.
L, even though he's black, I don't really care. That's fine. Those mannerisms are pretty damn close to what L would do and be like.
Did I ever tell, I think I told you, Brandon, but there was a convention or something, but Kira was at a convention and causing Kira-type chaos, and one of them involved tipping L over from L squatting.
You did tell me about this, yes. Yeah, it was funny then, too.
Yeah, I think he even said, "I have one L," and he ran away.
It's great. Love it. Knock him over.
Shit.
So, any other stuff you want to get into?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like, what's been going on. Nope, still trying to play Monster Hunter, still slowly working my way through, Octopath. Oh, new event in Fate Go. I know everybody probably loves hearing about this. But yes, Fate Grand Order's got a new event involving Prisma Ilia, which, not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of Prisma Ilia. It's a magical girl take on the Fate series, and I don't like it. There's concepts in there that are interesting, but I just don't like the magical girl aesthetic. It's never been something I cared for.
Andy Rin is in it as a sidekick character? Is she magical girl too?
She was before the series started. She passes on her abilities to Ilya.
Oh.
Who is now just a regular schoolgirl with a normal family and an adopted older brother who she's got a crush on.
Oh.
And you know, she's the overly optimistic and happy kind of girl who gets into ditzy trouble. It's literally all the tropes, and I did watch the first season. I gave it that much. I still didn't care for it by the end.
Is it the fact that it's comedy and not...
it feels too formulaic, and like the character interactions is what I think it is.
Okay, because Carnival Phantasm was comedy, and that was good.
I liked Carnival Phantasm. I don't have a problem with Carnival Phantasm. I think it's just the magical girl aesthetic and just the tropes that litter that bother me. Because, you've got your cool side character / rival going on. The only part that kind of seemed interesting is the fact that, like, their wands are alive. The wand weapon or whatever it is alive. And for Ilya, it's called Ruby, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is literally pushing as hard as it can to break fourth walls with magical girl tropes every time. And I'm just like, all right, that's interesting, but everything else surrounding this is still kind of shit. The idea is like you need to capture servant cards, quote unquote. And if you don't capture it soon enough, those cards start to manifest themselves as like berserker servants almost. Like they're the actual servants. Like for instance, Ryder is there from Fate Stay. And she's an out of control servant, but she's still like a Ryder class. So when they capture the card, they can then insert the card into the wand and then take on that servant's like abilities, skills, and to a degree their outfits and their looks.
Kind of like, what was that? Card captors.
Yes, almost exactly like card captors.
Okay.
I know that there's at some point, and I don't know how this works exactly because I didn't see this part. I think it happened in season 2, which I didn't get to, where I think Ilya's mind kind of like breaks in two, and the like at one point she inserts the Archer card, and it ends up being like Amiya from Fate Stay, and she has like another side version of herself that like splits off almost. So that now you have like her Archer, Amiya, counterpart and regular magical girl Ilya as two separate characters. So she's got like the tanned hair and like whitish, pinkish hair.
It seems like an interesting take.
It's an interesting take. Like I said, there are good points in there that seem interesting. It's just, I don't like the fact that it's wrapped in a magical girl thing. It's just not not a franchise. It's not tropes. It's not a subgenre I enjoy. Mm-hmm. I just don't care for it, and I think it ruins it for me. If somebody likes it, that's great. I don't have a problem with people liking it. I can't get into it because magical girls are not my thing. Even when like Sailor Moon was out when I was younger, I didn't care for it.
And I know we kind of brought this up when talking with Karen. I found out that even when I was 15, 16, I was a fan of Tsundere characters because Sailor Mars was my favorite one. And I believe when I asked Karen, was Mars Tsundere, Karen responded, I think she was a little bit.
I honestly don't remember. I have not watched Sailor Moon in ages, and I don't care to.
Yeah, because I was like, oh god, was she Tsundere? A little bit?
All I really remember is Venus and Mercury. I know Venus was like not the femme fatale, but like the super popular one.
Yeah.
I do remember Mars was actually like the Shrine Maiden.
Jupiter was the tomboy, and Moon was the, like, lead character, ditz.
Mercury was, like, the really shy, bookish one.
Yeah.
I know that Neptune and Uranus were...
lesbians?
I mean, unless you watch the dub, in which case they're cousins, which makes it even more awkward.
And didn't they have a transvestite that...
I don't fucking know.
Because I thought they had something like a transvestite, but they're like, no, he's definitely male.
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know. Look, it's magical girl stuff, and I just don't care for that genre at all. Like, those tropes are annoying to me.
Okay, so let's get into End of Evangelion. And this all really started with Anno getting a lot of hate mail about
As any good series starts.
No. Did you notice? I believe it was like 60% of the way through the movie, there's a flash of what appears to be handwritten letters. Those are actually all the hate mail Anno got from Evangelion, and he's like, screw it, I'm going to put all the complaints just shoved in this one part of the movie.
It's so stupid and I love it. That sounds like something fucking Yoko Taro would do.
Is that the guy that you were telling me about that, like, rolls on the ground whenever he's asked a question?
No, he was the one that rolled on the ground holding a Nier Automata t-shirt with his Emil mask on, just screaming, Nier Automata t-shirt! Nier Automata t-shirt! Trying to advertise it, and I'm like, this is amazing. I love this man. He's great. I love Yoko Taro. He makes great games, and he's got a stupid-ass fucking personality, and I love it. I would love to meet that man one day.
Okay, like Beyond the Boundary, this has a recap movie called Death and Rebirth from March 1997, roughly a year after the series ended, and in July 97, we get End of Evangelion. And the Rebirth half of Death and Rebirth is actually a rough cut of the first third of End of Eva. So, End of Eva, what some people say, replaces episode 25-26. This was actually the true intended ending of Evangelion if the budget wasn't cut.
I would say yes. To me, it seems like there's stuff that was in episode 25 and 26 that still follows in this, but you also get a lot more as to what was actually happening. Because whereas 25 and 26 is just straight up, more or less just completely in Shinji's mind, there's a couple of flashes to what seems like reality. In End of Eva, you actually get the full sit down of what's happening.
So, we find out that Tabris, aka Quaru, wasn't the last angel.
Angel 17 wasn't the last angel.
Even though they say it was, there's one more. Humanity itself.
Yep.
So,
we learned that humanity itself was born from a previous angel.
Adam, the first angel.
No?
No, Lilith. Sorry. Lilith.
There you go.
Yep. And that Adam was the basis for the Evangelions. Because during the second impact, you see something that looks like a giant glowing Evangelion just in Antarctica before it's destroyed.
Yeah, before it completely self-destructs itself.
During the series, Adam, the first angel, is shrunk down to an embryonic state, and Gendo, I think he merged that with his hand somehow.
He, I think he grafted it on, so, more or less, it's kind of sewn into his body now.
And I'm going to get more into how it's different, but in the manga, Gendo eats it.
Huh. Interesting.
And so
I wonder what it tasted like.
So, near the
Sorry, I need to interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
He should have gone to Totsuki Academy and see if they could make it into something delicious.
So, in one scene of Evangelion, Gendo replaces one of the characters, and Gendo now has an AT field. So, within the movie, it begins with Nerve headquarters being attacked by, the Japan Special Defense Force?
Something like that.
There's an extra S in there, Secret Defense Force, or
Super Special Defense Force.
Strategic Self-Defense Force. That's what it is.
I prefer super special. It sounds so much more mature.
So they need to, Nerve needs to defend his headquarters from actual humans, actual high-grade military humans.
Something it
And
was never designed to do.
let's just say they don't do that good of a job. People are dying. People are blown up. Flamethrowers.
It's a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Like Team America World Police.
Worse, I'd say.
Oh,
It's outright genocide.
and even before this happens, can we discuss the sepia tone hospital scene?
Oh, do you want to get into that and how fucked up Shinji actually is?
Let's just say, since this replaces episodes 25 and 26, Asuka is comatose in the hospital, and Shinji is begging for her to...
That was immediately after she was found after I'm going to assume slit her wrists. Because, like, she's so far into depression that she feels like she has no point in existence anymore. And she, I believe, slits her wrist, or at least it's implied that that's what happened. And almost immediately afterwards, she's found by the, by the Nerve agents that were sent to look for her. And I assume that this is the result, where she's, like, passed out in the hospital.
And she's comatose. Shinji's begging for her to insult him, say something to him. He pulls on her a bit too hard. Her hospital gown comes open, revealing boobs. And
Boobs.
Shinji, being the 14-year-old boy he is,
Can't control his hormones.
masturbates.
It couldn't.
Doesn't actually show it. You just see the aftermath on his hand. And he calls himself really pathetic.
I believe he says, like, God, I'm so fucked up.
That's what it is. Speaking of which, I mean, it's just boobs, Shinji. Come on.
Yeah, but I guess, like, reacting that way to somebody he knew for the past year, since, like, this, like, movie and the series all takes place within 1 year, or less than 1 year.
Yeah, because if they turn 15, they'd kick him out of the Avas.
Yeah. From what I was reading, this movie does take place around New Year's. Because Second Impact caused the world to become office access, so nothing really has any real seasons anymore. So Japan is permanently in late spring, early summer.
Huh.
That I didn't know.
That's why it was all one season throughout the entire thing. And I know California and places like that has, like, a perma season, but that's what was caused by Second Impact.
Okay.
So, there's a bloodbath going on. They say Asuka's safer inside her Ava, even though she can't operate it, than in the hospital. So they send her up, hide her in a lake. Rei is off being Rei in a LCL tube, and Shinji has a mental breakdown and really doesn't want to escape. He would prefer to die for all the shit he's been through.
Living is pain, man.
So, he is rescued at nearly the last second by Masato.
Literally to the point where, like, the enemy has a gun to his head.
And I think this just may be the English dub, but the guy says, like, sorry kid, it's nothing personal.
Nope, that was the translation I got, because this one I actually saw in the Japanese, because I couldn't find the dub for it anywhere.
Oh, okay, but during the flamethrower sequence, do you know where the guy, like, fires 2 shots?
Yes.
In the English dub, they added, do it again.
Yeah, no, it was completely silent as far as like dialogue for me.
Yeah.
That seems stupid.
But
It's a pointless addition.
but just to prove how cold these guys actually are, I guess.
Well, I mean, there was the one point where like you see like down a corridor and it leads to a T intersection where like the guy goes over, or one of the nerve agents is like trying to run away, gets shot in the head, and then one of the other, the guy that shot him comes over and just shoots him twice in the gut again.
Yep.
And I'm just like, what the fuck?
These people
Like,
are...
at least shoot him in the head twice, because I mean, the gut's not going to do anything.
Yeah. So, after being, like, really forced by Misato that you are worth something, the world is depending on you, she forces Shinji out into the hangar as she's dying.
Yep.
And I kind of liked the line. She kisses Shinji and says, "Hey, we'll do the rest later. Good luck."
That's an adult kiss, by the way.
Oh.
But yeah, she does it because A, she wants to push him along, and B, she's literally going to die before anything happens.
So, Asuka is there, underwater, kind of suffering, saying like, "I don't want to die." She finally pushes herself out of her depression, like, annihilates all the land forces.
Hold on.
Okay.
It almost sounds like when I was watching it, and I don't know about the dub, but when I was watching it, there was also lines from what I assume was the mother's soul in the Ava talking to her.
That may have been quiet, but mostly it was Asuka, like, just whispering, "I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want to die," for, like, nearly a minute long.
Yeah, and, like, as Asuka's saying that and her volume is building, you're also getting another voice in the background from what I'm going to assume is her mother's soul inside the Ava saying, like, I won't let you die, I'll protect you, yada, yada, yada. And it's the realization that, for Asuka anyway, her mother's soul is in the Ava, and that her mother has been watching out for her the entire time.
I'm just going to say maybe on that. I may have missed that. It's probably in there.
That's definitely in the one I watched anyway.
Okay, then let's just say I missed it.
Because, like, half the time she's screaming, like, at the start about, like, how her mama's there and all that. Yeah. Oh, there's a point where she talks, like, says mama, and even, like, it cuts to Shinji, and he's like, mama? As in, like, a question mark?
Yeah.
But it's there. That's for sure.
So, the group Gendo works for, which we really didn't mention that much, Sele says, "We need to move our plan into action." And their plan is mass-produced Evangelions, numbers 5 through 13.
That's their version of mass production.
Yes. Well, there's like 7 of them.
I find it funny, too, because, like, you say 5 through 13, but when they show up, they're numbered 1 to 9.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
When you first see them show up, like, and they're getting dropped by, like, the jet or whatever, you see the numbers all lined up, and it's 1 to 9.
Because in all these supplemental materials I've seen, their numbers 5 through 13.
I know, it's weird, because I saw 1 to 9.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is strange.
Yeah.
I mean, it still adds up, because, like, you have 0, 1, and 2, plus, you know... Actually, no, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. 3 was Toji's, 4 got blown up.
Right, you're right. I'm getting fucked up because of 0.
And 0.
Being in there. That's why. Yeah, so yeah, it would add up to 13 with those. No, it wouldn't.
5,
Because you have 0,
6,
1,
7.
Hold on. You have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's 5 Avas, right?
Yes. Then 5.
And
6,
if it's 1 through, if what I saw was right, and it's 1 through 9 as the Avas, right?
Yes. 5,
artificial,
6,
that's 14.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
How many is that?
9.
Is that 9?
Yes.
That doesn't make sense, though, because you have the 5 Avas, including 0. God damn it, it's 0 again. 0's fucking me up. That's why. God fucking damn it. But yeah, it's because of zero. That's
Zero
why I'm
is a
getting fucked
number.
up. I know, but I keep ignoring it as a numerical value and thinking it's like a 14th, which it technically is.
It technically is, but kind of not, since zero was the prototype.
It exists. It's still there.
Yes.
At least until Rey self-destructs it anyway.
Yes. And during her attack on the defense force, her umbilical plug comes out. So she needs to fight off the mass-produced Evas within like 3.5 minutes.
All 9 of them.
The hell?
So she goes like berserk on them, ripping off their jaw, using their own weapons against them.
Honestly, I'm surprised it took her that long to do that. Only because of the fact that, like, I think on the second or third one, she breaks or loses the knife that the Evas are all equipped with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, why don't you just grab their weapons? And she's just like, no, I'm going to punch it real hard.
So she defeats them all, but then they reactivate. They fix all their broken bones, and...
Not completely. A lot of them are still scarred, and the one's still missing an arm.
Okay. But they beat the crap out of Asuka, and...
Oh yeah, they start devouring it.
Yeah, they nearly kill Asuka.
Hell, one of them impales her and I think takes out her eye.
Yes.
Damn.
You can even see in the cockpit blood flowing from her actual eye.
Yep.
So Shinji actually hears that, like, Asuka's being killed, you need to save her, and that snaps him enough out of his depression that he goes up, sees Asuka nearly
You're forgetting
dead.
the point that, like, when he gets to the hangar, that thing's covered in, like, what looks like a giant ball of wax. Like, he can't even get into Ava if he wanted to.
I don't know what they call it.
I don't remember what it was either. It was like, it looked like a big ball of, like, red wax or whatever that just flooded the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
But he couldn't get to the Ava even if he wanted to. And it wasn't until, like, that whole thing with, like, the mama situation that his Ava's arm activates on its own and breaks out of it and gives him a way to get into the pod.
Yeah.
So Shinji goes up, sees Asuka impaled several times, like, dead, and he goes into, like, full-on Shinji scream mode.
Which he does a lot.
Yeah, and I would have to say that Spike Spencer does a good job at doing, like, a full-on anguished scream.
I'll take your word for it, because I was not watching the dub.
No, but he does scream a lot in the anime.
Well, I mean, it wasn't anywhere near what the movie has, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that one's long
Yeah.
and painful sounding.
So, these 9 Avas make Shinji the catalyst of Third Impact.
Oh shit.
Rather than Adam. Adam was the original choice. Instead, they're using Shinji and Ava Unit 1.
So, Gendo takes Rei and says, hey, before this happens, I'm going to make my own Third Impact by sticking his Adam-infused hand through Rei's body and
I feel like we need to bring up a little thing here, right?
Rei's naked.
Well, not even that. I mean, that's a thing that's there, but that's not what I'm talking about.
That Rei isn't really human.
That part, yes. Like, her body is human, but her soul is literally that of Lilith.
So, Adam and Lilith are combining, which will create Third Impact. Except Rei doesn't want it. So, she goes up to Lilith's body and absorbs herself into Lilith which triggers her own part of Third Impact.
I mean, she refuses it and kind of cuts off Gendo's arm.
Yes, yes.
Then she gets inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's important to mention that Gendo doesn't have an arm anymore.
Yeah.
He gets it cut off by
Ray.
Angel.
Yeah,
Or
since
Ray.
Ray kind of absorbs his arm off of his body.
Like, it's
Sure.
kind of like what happens, right, when you shove your hand into, like, a window and then the window comes down. Right.
Okay.
It's that kind of an idea. It's severed where it went into Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Got you.
And then Ray becomes giant. And she turns everybody into LCL.
Also, we need the revelation of, like, LCL is literally Lilith's blood.
Yes. She turns everybody into LCL and drags the Black Moon out of the Earth. Which is what may or may not be the Chamber of Goth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't... that part I didn't really understand was what the Black Moon was.
We'll get into that during our deep end discussion of it.
Mm.
And when you turn into LCL, you see the person that you care about the most in order to let down the AT field that all humans have, which is the barrier of your heart. So, everybody's dying, and,
Yeah, quote-unquote dying?
well, dying in the way that we would think of it, that everybody is becoming one life form, where there's no happiness, no sadness, everybody...
No pain.
No pain, no sorrow. Everybody
It's
is one.
It's kind of like everybody has having a full-on hive mind at one point within a single body.
One
Individuality is no longer a thing.
one huge liquidy body. And I really can't explain what happens next because it's really weird, trippy visuals.
And this is where we start cutting to, like, live-action shots and shit, too.
Yeah, and I copied down one of the lines that I'm like, wait, what? What are dreams? Dreams are a continuation of reality. But where's reality? It's at the end of your dreams. Reality exists in a place unknown, while dreams exist within reality. What does that mean?
What?
I feel like we're going to get into this more when it comes to, like, the philosophy side of it.
Yeah.
In the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I kind of get that quote, like, to a degree. It's a lot of it comes down to, like, perspective as an idea. Like, how do we differentiate dreams from reality? Like, where does that difference come into play?
Mm-hmm.
It comes from your perspective. You dream when you're asleep, and when you're awake, that is reality. But what makes it so that the reverse isn't just as true?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're actually awake in our dreams, but reality is where we sleep.
And as I was mentioning to Brandon before this,
Mm-hmm.
when we actually started, the live action sequence was going to be a live action alternate universe future where a lot of the characters are grown up and living their lives, still kind of suffering, like Asuka and Toji are actually married, and their relationship really isn't the best. And that's about the only thing I remember reading about.
That seems weird that it would be Asuka and Toji, considering that Toji kind of had a girl that was interested in him to begin with throughout the series.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, the class rep at the in school. Who, you know, gets some screen time, not much,
Mm-hmm.
but enough to be that, like, see that she's kind of interesting and caring.
Mm-hmm. And then Shinji finds out that he's more than just an Ava pilot, like he is in the series, and he realizes that everybody as one, without pain, without suffering, isn't the best thing, because if there's no pain, there's no suffering, is anybody knowing the real you?
Well, there is no you if everyone's one.
Yes.
You can only, like, who you are and what you are is defined by those around you and your experiences.
And to experience that is to truly live. So Shinji rejects instrumentality, and
which is the process under which they are going to become a single being.
So he rejects instrumentality, rejects Third Impact, and defeats the giant glowing ray. Her blood splatters on the moon, and
defeats or not, because Rey kind of gives him control over whether or not it's going to happen.
Yes.
She gives him the choice to continue on with it or, to end it there through this whole psychedelic tropey, situation of him coming to a realization of what it means and what will happen if it goes through.
I think right before the live-action sequence is the flash of hate mail that Anno just put in, be like, hey, here's what you thought of the series, what do you think of the movie? And from what I understand, people are saying 25 and 26 actually take place during Third Impact.
That's what I got out of it. Like, when I first just watched, the regular episode 25 and 26, I'm like, alright, whatever the fuck the plan was, it's already happened. I didn't understand what was going on, because they never really said what it was in the series.
And all humanity can regain their human form if they desire to enough. So, the movie ends with Shinji and Asuka on a beach. With Asuka, then again, people debate if it is truly Asuka that he brought back or not. He climbs on top of Asuka, starts strangling her, realizes, no, I need somebody else. Asuka says, you're disgusting. It ends.
Well, no, oh jeez. Look, there's a lot to dissect just in that one scene at that point, right? And I don't know if I want to do this. Fuck it, I may as well do it now, because I disagree with that. There was a point within, the whole dream sequence section where Shinji was uncovering things where he ends up strangling Asuka anyway within that dream sequence. And in doing this, right, he gets on top of Asuka, goes to choke her out, and I assume that it's Asuka because she's, got an eye patch over her eye that's, I'm assuming, still missing. And her arm that was, ripped apart is in a cast at this point.
And we'll get into this a little bit more later on, but did you notice in episode 1 of the TV series, there was a flash of Rey before he met Rey? In End of Eva, final scene, flash of Rey.
Yes, I remember that.
Okay, people have their own theories on what that means.
Well, Rey was showing up to everybody before they died anyway. Before they became part of the LCL, she was always there. But anyway, back to my point of, that final scene, right? The thing is, Shinji immediately goes to try to, strangle her, and the point where you miss, I think, is where she, reaches up and strokes his cheek as he's doing that. So it's kind of a reminder that life isn't just pain and sorrow. There's kindness and, there's gentleness within it as well. And that stroke is what leads him to stop strangling her, that realization as she does that. And yeah, she does say that he's disgusting, but it's because of the fact that, either, I don't know, you could say that maybe it's because he couldn't go through with it on either aspect at that point. Also, the point that they are the only two there. So the question is, will the rest of humanity regain their forms? Are they regaining their forms in other parts of the world? Or are these two the only ones left, and this is straight up a new Genesis, a new Adam and Eve?
And that's the end of Evangelion. Before I continue on, Ryan, what are your final thoughts?
I'm gonna have to like watch it to like
Fully
understand.
Yeah.
He still won't fully
and-
understand.
I'm like
Yeah. But
all
that's...
these animes you guys pick confuse the shit out of me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
Next
I mean,
time,
all you really need to understand is Cashroom shit. That's about it.
next time we'll do Pokemon or something.
All right.
Something
That's
simple.
more my
we-
speed.
we're not going to do Pokemon.
Aw,
But the manga version follows...
but I want to be the very best. Like no one ever was.
The manga follows the anime closely, but since of all the production delays and the fact that it was finished like 15, 16 years after End of Eva was in, it kind of takes its own route. Like Asuka's first fight, you just see like 1 or 2 scenes of. Although, to prove Asuka is tough, nobody pushes me around, she fistfights 6 thugs in an arcade, while Shinji is there watching. In the manga, Shinji is a little bit braver, a little less whiny. He can stand up for himself. Gendo has different motivations, and is even colder to Shinji. Even at one point says, like, I hate you to Shinji.
We do get that ending point in the movie with Gendo where he's just like, I can't be around him because I'm only causing him pain. So, in essence, that was the reason he always pushed Shinji away.
In the manga, it was because Shinji took all of Yui's affection away from him.
Interesting, because that wasn't anything in the anime.
So, like I said, it's the same and different. There's also a manga based on the alternate reality sequence in episode 26.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a full-on, like, 6-volume manga, I think?
I'm just wondering what would have happened, right, if this anime had come out in, like, the 70s somehow.
Oh.
And a bunch of people that were on fucking, like, a bunch of the hippies with weed and shit were on watching this shit. Because people really loved Yellow Submarine during that time. And that, in turn, brought up some real interesting stuff with Alice in Wonderland being real trippy. You know, the Disney one.
And although it had, like, 95-ish chapters, Quaru actually shows up, like, mid-50s, late 40s, I'd say. So Quaru has a little bit of a bigger role, and his homosexual tendencies tend to be a little bit more on the nose. Like, Shinji is hyperventilating in his sleep, so Quaru gives him mouth-to-mouth, even after the point of Shinji is fine.
Don't want it to end.
So...
Again, I don't think I mentioned this, but Quaru is the vessel for the soul of Adam, too.
Just like Rei is the vessel of the soul of Lilith.
Yes. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Lilith is supposed to be Adam's first wife. Like, within the book of...
Genesis.
I think it's Genesis. I don't remember if that's scrubbed out of the actual Bible or if that's still in just the Judas text. But yes, she is the first wife of Adam and the first cast out of
Eden.
And that is when Eve is created. So my other question would be, where is Eve in all this? Where is the actual Eve?
I wouldn't know.
Dun, dun.
There is...
Also, I would like to also point out that I think it's debatable as to whether or not Rei also incorporates some of Yui's DNA.
She is actually a clone of Yui.
But she's not completely a clone because there's alterations.
Yeah, not completely, but she is part Yui. That's why... I don't know if this was in the anime often, but there's at one point Shinji mentions, or like through any monologue, how much Rei reminds him of a mother.
Yeah, he mentions it actually directly to her, like specifically when she's like helping to clean up the classroom. The way she like
Wrings out the towel.
wrings
Yeah.
out the towel.
You know, like that's very motherly. In the manga, it seems to be going more towards Shinji and Rei, while in the anime, it seems to be going more Shinji and Asuka.
Like, the part of it is the whole idea of I think what Rei actually is like a combination of DNA from Lilith and Yui. I think
Okay.
that's what it is. Also, one of the things that's pointed out is like, you know how the mothers are all inside the Eva units, right?
Yes?
What was in the prototype at that point?
The soul of the original Rei.
Yes, that's what people are thinking, is that at least the partial soul anyway, because Rei herself still has the rest of the soul of Lilith.
I know I forget the name of the series, but there is a comedy spin-off of Attack on Titan.
Mm-hmm. It's like a high school thing.
Yeah, there
It's dumb.
is a comedy spin-off of Ruby, and there is a comedy spin-off of Evangelion called, I believe, Ava at School, where
Oh, Christ.
it's like mini...
Are we just taking that like dream sequence from 26 and just turning it into an actual anime now?
No. This is different, where it's all like super deformed.
Actually, no. No, hold on. Let me take a guess at this.
Okay.
All right. It's at school, right?
Uh-huh.
It's about being at school, but it's the actual Evangelions that are there at the school, just super deformed and small.
Actually, Unit 1 is a bully at school.
For fuck's sake!
and there are 3 Reis coexisting at once.
Of course there would be.
Rei the First, which is like the young 7-year-old Rei, the main Rei the Third, and Rei the Second, who is the alternate reality Rei, all hyper Geki girl.
For fuck's sake.
I believe like Gendo is a teacher at the school who has a tendency to throw chalk at Shinji as he falls asleep in class.
I mean, who wouldn't want to throw something at Shinji?
Also, there is half, and I don't know too much about this, but half a tokusatsu Evangelion where Evas are this, I'm going to say, maybe a very tiny entry plug that they hold in their hands and can generate the weapon of the soul. So you have like a whip, a sword, a gun. I believe somebody has a scythe. I think Quaru has a scythe. So they take down like human-sized angels who are more like the monster of the week in their...
Ay vey.
But
It sounds like something I get real tired of real quick.
But it also has the Ava darkness to it. And, like, the main thing that just came out, the rebuild of Evangelion, which is a retelling of the series, but not. The first one is pretty dead on, but the second one starts to diverge much more than the manga did, to the point where it's in its own continuity.
Huh.
The thing...
I'd almost want them to do something like they did with Full Metal Alchemist, where they come out with like the manga version in anime format.
Okay, but the thing is, there's another Ava pilot, and it may be a sequel to End of Evangelion.
Oh, great. Does that mean we go back and we see Asuka and fucking Shinji getting it on?
No. Because at the end of the first one, they're talking about Shinji, and Quaru up on the moon says, like, oh, seems like the third is as interesting as before. And there is a line in the second one, like, Shinji Ikari, this time I will truly make you happy.
I don't know if I would be happy.
Why people are saying it's a sequel, the moon has this red line through it, and the seas aren't blue. They're LCL red. So...
Weren't they already that way?
No. Like, just around Antarctica. But around...
Or was it only Antarctica?
Only
Okay.
Antarctica. But everywhere else had blue water.
I mean, the lakes were, like, at Tokyo 3, it was because it was a lake. It wasn't connected to the ocean, I thought.
But that has...
I thought the regular oceans were still red.
But that's what some people...
That water would cycle.
Yeah, but that's what some people say in defense of people saying it's a sequel. So, it's interesting. I know there's several video games that retell the story, add story to it. I know there's one that actually tells you why Sele wanted to create Third Impact.
That's one of the questions I did have, too, was like, why did they want that?
And I'll be getting into that a little bit later. So, there's so much Evangelion stuff, and I don't think it will stop anytime soon, because Rebuild 4 has been finally announced with a tentative date of 2020.
Oh, boy. How long are the Rebuild?
The Rebuild are 3 2-hour-long movies.
Okay, alright, so they're like movie length.
It was originally going to be 2007, 9, 11, and 12, but more production delays, everything got pushed back. Anno was working on Godzilla, I know. So, but Part 4, now tentatively titled Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0. Like, that's the...
I may end up having to go and look for a figure for this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
So, that was...
I don't know who it would be. It would have to be Pen. I'd have to find a Pen figure.
Come on, not Asuka or Rei.
I need Pen. He's the best character.
Okay, so, that was Evangelion as a whole. So much material that I didn't even cover, because I know there's like a dating sim that includes another character with her own tragic backstory.
Oh man, I really want to go and date Ava Unit 1.
Oh man.
I can't wait for that one to eat my heart out. Literally.
I'll probably actually watch this one.
Yep. If you want it really condensed, I would say watch Death, which is the first part of the true ending.
Okay.
Although that adds, like, I know a concert scene. The 4 kids are getting ready for, like, some high school concert. Since during this series it was mentioned that Shinji can play the cello.
Yes.
Oh.
And of course that makes him amazing, because cellos. It completely redeems his character.
And of course, Asuka's jealous that he can play the cello.
Because apparently Asuka found something that somebody else is better at than her, and she can't handle it. I know there was some debate on whether or not Asuka was interested in Shinji from the start, or whether she just hated him.
I think by the end, she found something in Shinji.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about the end, there's really only one man around at this point.
No, I mean not the end of Ava. I mean by the end of the series.
Okay.
Like around episode 18. Because she did want to kiss him at one point.
Well, that's one of the reasons people are like, but there's like a relationship here, maybe.
Yeah.
But you could also argue that it's like she wants to be practiced, and since Shinji's the only one she can kind of force into it, you know, for when she gets with Kaji.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's arguments to be had either for or against.
So I guess that about wraps up this episode of Brandon's Discuss Anime. Next week, we will be hitting the concrete.
The concrete jungle.
Maybe.
Oh, man.
Is Donald Glover going to be in the next anime we talk about?
Who knows? We might go to Disneyland at the same time.
Oh.
Yes.
I don't know what that means.
Neither do I. I haven't watched it yet.
If that means anything at all.
Yes. Yes.
It might. Who knows?
Yes. And we could be completely not right because we might be releasing these episodes out of order. Yay.
Somebody's organized.
Yes. That all depends on if Ryan falls asleep during our next recording session.
I try not to.
It's honestly impressive that you could do that.
Well, I'm working third shift and then staying up for like 5 extra hours. I don't know.
It's still impressive.
Alright. Laters.
See ya.
Ah.